Hello there, welcome to another Seeing Clearly with Charlotte Giblin. Something a little bit different today because I'm not with one of my artworks, but this is just as important as any story I can tell you because this is describing the origin of my recovery from fear and anxiety. I mean, the decades of underlying anxiousness and worry and concern about how people were reacting to me and all of that buried under the layers of happiness and confidence. And if you've seen any of my videos, you'll know quite a lot of that story already. But I've really been reflecting on where it started, how my recovery began. And it really is rooted in my artistic practice. In fact, in my drawing practice in particular. And this is something which I think can be really helpful even if you're not an artist, because this is about learning to see the world as it is, not as you think it is. Learning to look at objects and, of course, then learning to look at yourself with a really honest eye, actually seeing things the way they are, not the way you think they are, which is very important distinction as an artist. So with this vase, I mean, before I arrived in the picture, then you would just have seen this colourful object and maybe you've noticed some of the things around it. And I know I'm creating a little bit of a distraction here, but I would set something like this up for my students and say, draw the vase. And to start with, a lot of people, and you may be the same, or you may have a very different eye and a different view now with your drawing and painting. A lot of people would then focus on the word vase and they'd focus on the object of the vase and almost create a cutout object. And especially because it's so bright and colourful and everything around it feels a little bit secondary. Now, if we use the vase as an analogy and a symbol for ourselves, then you are the most important object. You are the focus in this whole still life setup, just as the vase is the focus. And yet, nothing exists in a vacuum. You don't, the vase doesn't. Everything is connected, and there are so many environmental clues around the vase, around yourself, which can help you place it more accurately and more honestly in the context of the situation. So straight away, I would say, if you were drawing this, and before I turned up in the shot, you could always take a screenshot of the view and have a go at this as an exercise, or look around you and start looking at how key objects, like something on your desk, which might be a feature aspect of decoration, and the desk feels very secondary, but the object you're looking at is connected to the desk, and the desk is connected to the floor, and you are connected to the floor as well. Everything is linked together. And as an artist, if you can start seeing how all those jigsaw pieces fit together, your life and your practice becomes so much easier. It becomes completely enhanced because you're viewing things with a very clear perspective. So straight away, look for horizontal and vertical lines which can give you structure on your paper. So I've very kindly put the easel up here with the bar going across. And you're looking at this on a screen, so you're seeing it already as a two-dimensional image, which makes it much easier when you're translating anything for drawing. So where does this line of the easel cut through the vase from your perspective? How would that become part of your drawing as it integrates into the side of the vase? Which of these stripes around the neck is it closest to? How about the vertical line of the easel, if that carried on through? Where does that interact with the vase? What about the front edge of the filing cabinet here, or the back corner? Start looking for horizontal and vertical lines which can really ground your drawing. And of course, the folds in the back, where do they enter the vase, as it were? How do those lines and shapes of light and dark interact with the neck of the vase? How would you put those into the picture? Because this object is not isolated, and everything around it can help you to draw it more accurately, because there are so many jigsaw pieces now to put together. It's not just trying to get the vase on its own accurately in relation to itself. All of these other elements make it much easier to draw the whole setup. And in exactly the same way, when you can start changing your perspective constantly as an artist, so you're focusing in on the detail of the object you're looking at, the focal point of the setup, or whatever it is that you're drawing or painting, and at the same time open the blinkers to look at the bigger picture of all of the elements around your object and create that environmental grounding. It makes it not only easier for you to draw and paint accurately, but it starts changing the way you look at everything around you. And eventually, as I discovered, that skill to detach myself enough from what I'm looking at, particularly when it comes to portraits, which is a whole other subject we can talk about. But once I could detach myself from getting involved with just the vase and seeing every element of a setup, a drawing setup, a painting subject for what it is, for the jigsaw pieces of light and shade, everything is just made up of light and shade. You're looking at this in colour, but if you're doing a drawing, pencil, graphite, charcoal, it's going to be in black and white, probably, or tonal. And you need to then be able to look at colours as gradients of black, of grey, of white. And all of the different shapes that are created, even by the black cloth in the background, there is very little black there. There's just a huge number of shapes of light and darker material which are forming the whole. So being able to not only open your vision to what's around the focus of your eye and of your drawing subject, but start really looking at how everything interacts and how each piece of information is just another section of light or shade, in exactly the same way that our whole being is made up of jigsaw pieces of light and shade. And what happened was that I consciously started becoming aware that drawing skill that I had, that I worked at hard to get better at, that the discipline of being able to see things with a clear perspective and see things honestly, then I started to turn that visual observational skill back in on myself, which is really, really challenging, because it's incredibly easy to give advice to other people, isn't it? Because you don't have to do anything to create change. It's much easier to see from a distance perspective how we feel somebody else should be behaving or what mistakes they're making. It's much easier to judge and to pass on judgment. But in the same way that nobody can actually influence our behaviour by pointing things out from their perspective when they're viewing our behaviour, because none of us can really fully understand somebody else's experience of life, because we all have such intricate backpacks of emotional experience that we're carrying with us. So being able to turn a drawing skill, a razor sharp eye, back onto your own behaviour and start looking at, well, in my case, I was looking at my reactions, my behaviour towards others, my decision making, starting to view that as a jigsaw of my life, as a whole image of different still life setups, different situations, different still life setups, and starting to step back from those and with a detached artist's eye, try and understand what I was really looking at, and being as non-judgmental and unemotional as possible to pick apart the scene and really see with honest eyes what I was doing, what was happening in that situation, and how to then change the reaction or the behaviour once I've been able to see it very honestly. It's really difficult to do because we look at ourselves through such different filters, whether they're positive or negative or reflected in other people's eyes. It's really challenging to start looking at your own behaviour. And it did take me a long time to be able to do it. And I now realise how vital the artistic practice of drawing and looking has been. So this is a great place for you to start. If you're an artist, start thinking about your drawings differently. Really, really hone in on the object and its environmental placement. And when you're ready, you can start thinking about how this practice, this skill, because it is a skill, and if you're creative, you have an incredible gift to see the world differently. If you feel you want to, then use that skill and start looking at yourself differently. I can attest to the fact that it has been completely transformative in a very positive way. And throughout many of my videos, I talk about different ways in which I did that. But it felt really important today. It's the start of the year. A lot of people are making changes and thinking about reflecting on their lives, just as I am. It felt really important to go right back to the start and to recognise, acknowledge as an artist that it's this aspect of my creativity that has helped pave the way for all of the emotional development that happened as a result. So take that with you and do with it what you will, but look around you and see objects as they are and see them as jigsaws of light and shade, and start to understand on a deeper level and with an artist's eye how everything is connected and the whole environmental context of everything that we're looking at. Have fun with that. I know that it's certainly got me thinking again, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.